Gordon Hartman.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank Scott for that very nice introduction. And I want to thank each of you for taking time during your lunch to join with me as we talk about things that are going on here in San Antonio, and not just here in San Antonio, but literally the state, the nation, and literally the world when it comes to helping and assisting those with special needs. I understand by this being on time that everything out there is working well, and that's good to hear. I also heard the statistic that y'all build a car in a 24-hour period, and one comes off every 62 seconds, which to me is absolutely incredible. Nothing I can tell you up here is going to top that. So congratulations on being able to do that. I understand you're trying to get to 60 seconds or 59 seconds. When you get that down to 30 seconds or so, that will be quite a feat. And I know that y'all, every time I'm here, y'all move another second closer to that. And so it's amazing what y'all are able to do. But I'm very happy to be here and appreciate the invite. I'm going to, first of all, tell you that I want to talk about Toyota just briefly as a company. A few years ago, Toyota became very involved with Morgan's Wonderland and with Soccer for a Cause. Toyota recognizes in a big way the need to be involved in helping those with special needs. And they don't just talk about it. They have given a large amount of commitment financially towards what we do at Morgan's Wonderland and what we do in the whole element of helping those with special needs. It is not just, as I said, something they talk about, but something they do. And so you work for a company that goes beyond any company I have ever talked to or ever worked with. And I'm not saying that because I'm on this ground and Joe's listening to this and you're I'm doing it because it's the honest truth. This company gives incredibly to helping those with special needs. And you need to know that. You need to know how dedicated this company is in that respect. Matter of fact, on the way over here, I was in discussions with some folks in California office because the World Special Olympics is coming in August of this year, and it's coming in LA, and the torch is going to run through San Antonio. Is going to make a stop at Morgan's Wonderland, because Morgan's Wonderland, of course, is presented by Toyota. And it just makes logical sense because I don't know if you know this, but the World Special Olympics is actually sponsored by Toyota. So not only have they made a commitment here locally with us, and without them, we would not be able to do many things that we are doing, nowhere near what we're doing. But the commitment is not just here, but it's literally worldwide. And the philanthropic group out of California, the group GST out of Houston, everybody has been incredible. And I'm glad to hear that Toyota is moving to Texas. That's great. I know the plan is, the offices up in Plano are heavily under construction. Incredible facility getting ready to be built up there. But I know I'm on a time frame because we need to keep those 62 seconds. I don't want to be blamed for a 63-second day, okay? so let me move on real quickly and just give you a very quick background of why I'm able to do what I do. I was in the home building business. Before I did that, I'm going to tell you real quick, my first job was walking dogs. I used to walk dogs for 50 cents around the block. I started holding on to 6 dogs at one time. I made $3 every time. I walked around the block. Eventually, I bought a lawnmower. I used to cut grass. And then when I turned 19, I said, I want to build a house. Had no idea how to do that. Built a house, sold it, said, that's pretty cool. Let's do 2. Let's do 4. And ultimately sold the company 19 years later, which will be 10 years next month in 2005. Sold it to a company out of California. And they did not just buy my home building company, but they bought my land development company, my insurance company, my title company, everything at one time. So I went from running 5 companies to the point to where I was technically retired. Now that lasted about a day, and because I have a personality that I don't like to sit, and I wanted to go on and do something else. And there were a lot of offers and opportunities to do a lot of different things that was given to me on starting new companies and things like that. But this is where things became an opportunity which has changed my life in a big way. I was blessed with a child who has special needs. Her name is Morgan. Morgan is 21 years old. And even though Morgan is 21 years old, she suffers from cognitive delay where she's at about a 5 or 6 year old level. And she has had numerous physical problems. She has 26 screws in her back, 2 rods, so she can stand up straight. She's had numerous, well, we joke with her about that she's leaks a lot because her lungs have continued to be somewhat of an issue. Continued to have surgeries and doing quite well, though, in that area. And she's had other surgeries because of other things that she's had to deal with. But Morgan is extremely inspirational because even though she deals with so many of these issues, and so many people like her who have special needs deal with so many issues like what she deals with, she always has a smile on her face. And when you meet her, she always wants to be your friend. She wants to hug you. And so even though she's enduring all these different things, what an inspiration that is. See, to me, special needs individuals have it figured out better than anybody. Their life is about, yeah, they have to deal with a lot of different issues, but they look at it as, hey, it's okay. You know, life's good. And Morgan is definitely an inspiration to what I then decided 10 years ago, actually about 9.5 years ago. I took the first 6 months and didn't want to make a decision exactly what I was going to do. But I made the decision to dedicate the second half of my life toward significance after having some success in the business world and being able to retire. I was 41 years old. It was time for me to look at something else to do at that time. At that time, we formed a foundation. And that foundation's job was to do a few things. One, to give money to those groups that help special needs individuals. And we go through a grant process and through a process to fund large amounts of money to nonprofits here in San Antonio. Last year we funded about 64 different agencies in some capacity. We also work with nonprofits that are small or ones that want to get started that have a passion but don't know how to go from point A to point B to point C from a business perspective. And there's a lot of passion out there, a lot of compassion as well in this community. And we try to take that and put the business element on top of that from the standpoint of moving that forward. We also do a lot of public relations. Me being here today to talk to you about special needs allows us to get the word out. Hopefully you'll go tell people, and then those people will tell people about the great things that special needs individuals can do if they're given the chance and if they're included in opportunities. And then the fourth thing is we think of ourselves as an entrepreneurial foundation. And what that basically means is that we come up with different ways to develop things that will be in perpetuity, whether that be medical or housing, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, of what our involvement is in that area. But what we became known for a little bit early on was a park that we built, an ultra-accessible park, the only type that exists in the world of its type, right here in San Antonio, called Morgan's Wonderland. You may have heard of it. And it is actually going to celebrate its 5th year. We're going to have a birthday party on April the 10th at 6 o'clock. Cake and all sorts of good things, entertainment, to celebrate 5 years. And it's a true celebration because I'll be honest with you, when we built that $35 million park, it had never been done before. So we didn't know, are people going to come to that park who don't have special needs and those who have special needs, and are they going to play together? Is that all going to work? Are we going to really be able to bring that barrier down? Let me talk about why that barrier was something as to why the idea came about. Morgan and I and her mom were on a trip about 7 years ago. And Morgan wanted to go swimming for the second time. She likes, when I say swimming, she likes to get in the water, splash around. She can now, I can say this, can hold her breath and come back up. Very proud of that. That's a big deal to Morgan. It's really cool that she can do that. She was splashing around, and I got out of the pool, and she saw actually 3 other children at the other end of the pool. It was a smaller pool. It was later in the day. And they were throwing a ball back and forth, 2 of them were. And Morgan looked over at them, and I watched her, and she slowly inched her way over to them. Just kind of playing with the water, but inched her way over. What Morgan wanted to do is she wanted to play. That's all Morgan wanted to do. She wanted an opportunity to be included with them. As Morgan got closer, what she did, Morgan's tall, she's actually taller than I am. At that time, she was tall too. And she wanted to be involved in that process of simple play. And what she did is she went over and she hit the ball. She kind of jumped because she couldn't verbally say, hey, can I play? Can I be involved? And I sat there and I watched that. She turned to me. I jumped in the water because I felt for her at that time because of what had happened. But it made me think, you know, Morgan is just one of tens of millions of folks who have similar type of situations. And we need to have that element of inclusion. And see, we couldn't take Morgan to Disney World because of sounds. And we couldn't take her to other places because of crowds. So where do we take Morgan? So I started thinking, I'm going to find a park I'm going to take Morgan to where she can play and have fun. And as I started talking to others, I found that was a situation among many of those who have special needs, caregivers, family members, etc. So that's kind of the idea, or the whole way in which Morgan's Wonderland, the thought process began. I traveled the country, looked at different parks, nothing close to what I even went to Miami and met with some folks who do international work to help special needs. Nothing in respect to what we were looking to do. So I said, okay, let's see if there's any interest in this whole concept, just a general concept. I'm wired and I just pulled one. If there's a concept in the idea of this whole idea of a park that brings about inclusion, basically doing this, putting those who have special needs first. That's all. Nothing fancy about what we're talking about. But instead of building a park and then saying, oh, let's do these things because ADA requires it, let's put those first who have special needs, and let's bring in people who have a passion to want to design it and build it. So we had a group come together and said, we're thinking about this idea. Give us what your thoughts are on this. Well, we have this meeting, and so many people come, we have to actually have a second meeting, because so many people wanted to be involved in just this general concept. So it gave us the thought that there was a real desire to come up with something like this. So we began the process, and what we did the first year, this is 2007 now, was we went out to the community, we donated some money, and we said, would the community donate money along with us to build this park? At this time, it's going to be maybe a $10 million project. As I told you, it kind of moved a little bit further past that because we kept hearing more and more needs and desires to make it bigger. But what we found is in the first year, just on the general concept through passion and compassion, we had raised $15 million in commitments toward this idea. So in 2008, we began to design. And we're thinking, okay, how are we going to design this? Well, we're not going to go out and we're not going to find a park designer because they're going to tell me this is how all parks are built. No, I don't want to build it like just another park. I want to start the other way. And we didn't want to go to an engineer who had always engineered parks a certain way. So what we did is we went out and found people who were passionate, and we brought them in who had the knowledge of how to do these different things. And that's how Morgan's Wonderland was designed. That's how Morgan's Wonderland was structured. And ultimately what it is a place that is engineered and designed for special needs, but is built for everyone to enjoy, the element of inclusion. So people come to Morgan's Wonderland, and hundreds of thousands have had, well over 1 million people have come, 500,000 people have come there in the 5 years. We average a little over 100,000 people through the park, and that does not include special events. That's just coming through for the park itself. We have another 300,000 people who come through in that respect. So it does work, but it works because people really love the opportunity of inclusion, of those who have special needs. And what we have is so many things going on at that park that simply don't exist elsewhere. We don't, for example, we can't unfortunately allow latex. We don't have any fluorescent lights. We've taken into account all those different things so the person who has special needs can feel extremely comfortable there, but they're playing alongside a friend who may not have any special needs. Everybody is getting a benefit out of this park though. First of all, the special needs individual is recognizing that they're part of something. And that brings smiles and joy to them because now they are part of something. That pull situation is not occurring. Hey, come on, let's play together. The person who does not have special needs is playing next to them is going through a learning process to recognize that being with special needs individuals, it's okay. It's a good thing. They're just as much fun as everyone else to be with. And the family members and the caregivers are part of the process because they can then relax in a place that they know is a safe place for them to play. And everybody can have fun. We even have RFID tags. So if you come there and you come as a group of 4, anytime someone from your group is away from them, you can go and run your wrist by this TV screen and it will show everybody who's with you and where they are in the park. You think, well, how important is that? Why is that a big deal? Well, just think of the small detail of a child who has autism, who may be a runner, or when I say a runner, someone who may want to run off and do something without telling people where they're going. That eliminates that kind of apprehensiveness, if you will, among the family members and the caregivers. I had a father tell me that we have birthday parties all the time. We have hundreds and hundreds of birthday parties at Morgan's Wonderland around the lake that we have. We have many different pavilions where birthday parties happen all the time. And what this father told me was, this is the first time I've been able to go where my autistic child could go on her own with her friends. I could still enjoy what we were doing at the party, and I knew if I needed to find her, I could find her like that. So it brings down his tension level as well, and he's having full enjoyment. So it's a win-win for everybody who's involved. Now, I could come here and I could give you a brochure and I could show you all the different things in Morgan's Wonderland, but that's not, you need to experience it. And I can spend 2 hours and tell you about Morgan's Wonderland, but you need to experience it. You need to see it in action. And I would really, truly invite you to do that. But now Morgan's Wonderland, every time you come to the park and you bring, there's someone who has special needs comes to the park, they will always get in free. And the reason for that is we did not want economic barriers, because those who have special needs and their caregivers, et cetera, have so many more expenses. You know, Morgan is blessed. She has a speech therapist. She has a physical therapist. She has the doctor. She has the medicines. But she's the exception to the rule. And if we were to charge every time for the special needs individual to come, then we would find that we would not be able to have Joey who comes and rides a train every week 6 times and then leaves. Or someone else who comes to the sand circle. We have a gentleman who's 22 years old at a cognitive level, about a 7-year, who comes and plays in the sand circle right next to people who are 8, 7, 6 years old. He feels like he's part of it, but he comes constantly. He actually brings his own buckets now. He doesn't like our buckets. He wants to bring his own bucket. But I mean, those are the kind of things that happen there, but that's a comfortable place for his family. It's a comfortable place for him. And those who are playing next to him are having fun as well, all an element of joining together. Now, many people ask, well, Gordon, how do you know when someone comes to your desk if they have a special need? I mean, that someone could cheat. Our feeling is if they lie, they have a special need. So we don't get into, you know, that. And so we hope that everybody is honest and fair with us in respect to that. And they have been. They have been. But anytime you do something like this, and you have to maintain a park of the magnitude of the different rides that we have, and many of our rides don't exist anywhere else in respect to how they've been engineered and how they've been designed. Small changes, but big changes, big things when it comes to helping those with special needs. But anytime you do something like this, and a lot of people come through your doors and they don't pay, and all programs for special needs are always free, and so many different programs that we put on, whether it be for seniors, we're very involved in seniors, we're very involved in moms groups, we're involved in a lot of educational programs. We bring in school districts from all over, even from El Paso and Dallas. I mean, everywhere people come and spend time. We've had people come from all 50 states, and so far account from 54 different countries that we are aware of. There may be more than that, but that's actually the type of number of people who have come to the park. But when you do something like this, you're not going to make money. We're not about making money. We're about offering a service. But what we did early on in the process is we knew we wanted to be part of inclusion, so we went out and said, what can we give back to San Antonio and make it part of also what it would be the nucleus, and that would be Morgan's Wonderland. And we picked a game of soccer. And the reason we did is because no one was putting any focus on soccer 5 or so years ago. No one was looking at that. And so we said, what we're going to do is next door we're going to build a very nice soccer facility, and the funds that come from that, by renting out those facilities to the need that exists there, will help fund some of the cost of operational costs at Morgan's Wonderland. As we got more into that idea, people said, well, why don't we bring a pro team to San Antonio? So we made the bold decision to bring a pro franchise here called the San Antonio Scorpions, who last year, by the way, won the North American Championship, only after their 3rd year, which we're very proud of. And we went ahead and also built a place called Toyota Field. Okay. And in doing that, all that is owned by the nonprofit. So everything filters over. So we are the first professional sports team that actually gives 100% of all of its funding. We own the concession company as well as part of the nonprofit. All that money filters over to help special needs. So while we're giving back to the community in another way, which brings about the element of more people being involved in what we do, because hundreds of thousands of people come to not only the games but also to the Star, the soccer complex, we're part of the whole element of inclusion. So separate from the economics, it brings about the element of inclusion. A couple of other things that we do at what we refer to as Wonderland, Texas. It's not just Morgan's Wonderland anymore because we're on 108 acres. We also have a school for those who have special needs, but it's a little bit different than your normal school. We bring in children at the age of about 11 or 12, and we take them up to 24 because we don't want to just teach them curriculum. We want to teach them the ability to go out and get a job. They have the ability to do it. Even though my daughter is at a cognitive level of a 5 or 6 year old, she is working today, working with helping set up concessions at Toyota Field for a game we have this Saturday. That's her job, and she looks forward to it. And she's more verbal now than she was back then, and the excitement she gets from that. And I use her just as an example, but there's a multiplier and a big number of people but her being part of that, the self-esteem is absolutely incredible. So we want to continue to teach the ABCs, but also we want to have the element of them being involved. This school started off very small, has grown, has recently received Texas approval to become even bigger, to bring students from other school districts, because of the way in which we go about it, at a 3.5 to 1 teacher-student ratio, really puts focus on that student, and then ultimately takes them into being young men and women who ultimately we hope that will be out there and be able to have a job and be able to move forward. So that's another thing that we're doing there. Also, there is a new rehab center that has been built through Telethon USA. Many of y'all may have heard of Telethon Mexico, and they have built 20 facilities down in Mexico, but they've never built one in the United States. We went down and started visiting with them about 2 years ago about the idea, actually maybe 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, about the idea of bringing a facility that they do down in Mexico, because their rehab work is beyond a lot of things that we're doing here in the States. They made a decision to come in and partner with us, and they're right there with us at Morgan's Wonderland. It's a 45,000 square foot facility, and they will help 600 children this year from around the world, literally, who will come here. 45 states, people from 45 states have picked up and moved to San Antonio to be able to have rights to be able to go to that facility this year for rehab. That's how intense and that's how good they are. The difference of what they do here in the States versus in Mexico is next door they have this place called Morgan's Wonderland. So not only is the PT work, the physical therapy, happening in their facility, but it's also happening at Morgan's Wonderland. So now it's a fun thing. It's not something that the child, they go to age 18, looks at and goes, I don't want to do this. They look at it and go, when can I go? Because I can go play. It's now turned into something fun. And that new concept is where they're looking to take this. So that's been added now to Morgan's, part of Wonderland, Texas. Another thing that we are going to start working on, and is in the future, is housing. You know, unfortunately, special needs individuals, when they get to the age of 22, they fall off a cliff. It's almost a catch-22, if you will. Housing, at that time, independence is important, and there's really a major deficit in the area of housing. General Robles, who used to be the CEO of USA, who recently retired, who now says he is rewired, is the term that he uses. He and I are going to work together in partnership to develop housing in that area, a great need that exists out there. Another area is medical. Medical has a lot of needs when it comes to special needs. Many of those with special needs are not treated and handled properly. I see, matter of fact, I have a meeting this afternoon with a dentist who wants to work specifically with special needs because she is seeing so many special needs individuals coming to her office who are having the teeth that are not being cared for. And these are 12, 13-year-old kids who are going through the system, and these doctors are not caring for them properly because you've got to spend a little bit more time. You got to do it a little bit differently. And we're going to get involved in that area as well. How we're able to do all that, though, comes back really to the passion and compassion of the people who work behind the scenes for what we do. We have about 146 people behind the scenes that are helping me do some of the things that I'm talking to you about. I often tell people, I rub sticks together, but there's a lot of people throwing gas on there that takes that spark and that thing explodes, because there's a lot of people making it happen. Because the need is so great. How great is it? 46 million people in this country have some form of a special need. 6% of our population cannot survive unless they have someone who helps them fully on a daily basis, my daughter being one of them. Morgan cannot make it through the day unless she has someone who makes sure that she does certain things, that she brushes her teeth, that she does these different things, helps her get clothes, all these different things. Those are big numbers, and we need to put focus to it. And it's groups like Toyota, as I mentioned early on, that have seen that and said, hey, we're raising our hand and we want to be a part of that. And what we want to be in this community is continue to raise the awareness of inclusion while raising also the element of involvement. And so what I have said, and I mentioned this to the group that allowed me the opportunity to be here today, is I don't want to say goodbye. What I want to say is I'll see you soon. I want to continue to be a part any way we can, whether we bring you all out to Morgan's Wonderland with your families, whether we do something at Scorpion Games, or whatever we do to make you all part of the whole Wonderland, Texas family. That's why I'm so glad to be here, because y'all are such partners with us. We want to be a partner with y'all, and we want to begin that relationship in a very, very strong way. I hope that gives you a quick overview of what we do. There's so much more on the horizon. We've been involved now for 5 years. I can't imagine where we're going for the next 5 years, because when you have something that's rolling and moving and expanding in a very positive way, people join on. And we're seeing more and more people wanting to be involved in the type of things that we're talking about. 46 different communities around the world are in communication with us about parks that they're developing and what they need to do with those parks to be able to make them fully accessible. So it's happening. It's getting out there. And it's just because of the small things being so much. I'm going to tell you a story. I get the opportunity of reading letters all the time from families and caregivers of people who just tell us about Morgan's Wonderland and the different things that we're doing. I have the best job in the world. It's the most fulfilling job. You know, I used to tell people back when I was running businesses, I go home at the end of the day, I was just exhausted. I didn't want to do anything. Well, now I go home at the end of the day, and I still got all kinds of energy in me. And the next morning, I'm up early going again. And the reason for that is because of the fulfillment that I get from what I do. I couldn't have a better job. But if I don't even call it a job. I mean, what I do is just an incredible opportunity. But I get letters, and there's one that came in that I always remember. This was an email, because through our website we get emails, and I like to read those. I always tell folks, send me as many of those, because that helps. And then we send them out so those who are working with us can see what they're doing in respect to affecting people's lives on a daily basis. But we had a young lady, a mother, who told that she had 2 children. One was autistic. And after they left apart, her child, who was not very verbal, asked the question if they had just left heaven after they left Morgan's Wonderland. And in many ways, that kind of really hit me, because in some ways, we have a little bit of heaven here in San Antonio. And that is something that we're very proud of, something that we really want to continue to expand. And with us working together as a group, we can make an incredible difference. So thank you very much for the opportunity for me to have the opportunity to be here today. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.